South Jersey's play-by-play home for the Eagles,
Touchdown!
Sixers,
It's good!
and Flyers.
Oh, big save by Carter Hart.
97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City, a Town Square media station. This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. Now, live from the Matt Black Kia Studios.
Oh, what a move!
Here's Josh Hennig.
Josh Hennig here, Game Night, 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank Seattle City. And as always, we are live on YouTube and Twitter. You can watch the show, join the conversation on all the platforms here on 97.3 ESPN. Yes, you can message the show as we do each and every. We'll get to your messages a little bit later in the hour. Coming up at 6:20 tonight, we'll get into all three of the teams in the news right now. The Eagles are just days away from the start of the preseason. Phillies start a big series coming up starting tonight versus the Dodgers and the Sixers, and Ben Simmons saga continues. So Tom Moore, sports columnist, the Bucks County Courier-Times, also longtime Sixers beat writer, will join us coming up here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. So we are going to get to a lot of different things here, but I do want to start off before we get to the Philly stuff with the Eagles, because the news coming out of camp that Dillard is left with an injury that will keep him week to week pretty much is a sign that they're going to hand it off to the left tackle job. They're basically Mailata. The competition is basically done. And you don't like to see it end this way. You don't like to see it kind of just, for lack of a better term, unceremoniously hand the game to another player. But when it happens, you got to accept it. And you also got to realize that Mailata was dominating the competition anyway. He was getting the majority of the snaps with the first team. He was playing way better than Mailata was. According to everyone who covers the team, Mailata was one of the top performers in camp. It was him, it was Josh Sweat, and a couple other guys were the best performers in camp so far. So for the Eagles, this kind of just settles the score at this point. It's a done deal. And I kind of say good riddance a little bit because, you know, if Dillard was really playing that poorly, if Dillard was really in a situation where he was just not able to keep up, then listen, if he is out for a couple weeks and maybe you can squeeze him into the final preseason game, maybe you can trade him and get something for him, because there's always offensive line help around this league, unless you feel like Dillard can be a viable backup for you. The problem is that he only can play left tackle, and that's really where the rubber meets the road for me, at least. For me, when I look at Dillard, if you can't play more than one offensive line position, then your value decreases significantly. What is he going to do? Just be the only guy with a backup for one position? Nate Herbig can back up 3 different positions on the offensive line. Jack Driscoll can go back up 4 positions on the offensive line. Matt Pryor can back up 2-3 positions on the offensive line. Even Mailata can play right tackle if it's needed. Dillard's the only guy who's not a mainstay starter who can't play more than one position. So to me, I look at it and I'm like, you know what? If you can't win the job and you get injured, maybe it's a sign that it's time to move on. Maybe it's a sign to just admit the situation. And you know what? On one hand, you have to give the Eagles credit that they were one of the only teams that went and checked out Mailata when he was working out. The story goes that Howie Roseman sent Jeff Stoutland to scout Mailata at his workout before the draft. And that Stoutland came back and pretty much pounded the table, or whatever you want to call it, for Mailata. That's how the story goes, as has been recounted to many people. And so, on one hand, you got to give the Eagles credit for finding this guy. On the flip side, the Dillard situation is dicey. Because the thing with Dillard is you didn't just spend a first-round pick on him. It was the fact that you put yourself in a position to keep another team from drafting him. Remember, the Houston Texans were reportedly, they really wanted him. And the Eagles traded up from 25th to 22nd to get Dillard. They traded with the Ravens. So you didn't just draft this guy in the first round, you traded up to get him. Now, speculation has been out there for 2 years. It was a quote-unquote Joe Douglas pick. So whether that's legitimate or not, I don't know. But maybe Joe Douglas would be interested in trading for Andre Dillard. Maybe the Texans, who wanted him originally, would be interested in trading for Dillard. There's plenty of teams in the league who could use offensive line help. Just like the New York Giants. They seem to have a worse offensive line almost every year. So I'm sure there would be plenty of teams that would call and offer something for Dillard if you put him out there to be moved as soon as he's feeling better. And obviously, if he's week to week, there's really no certainty of exactly when he'll come back or when he won't come back. So it's something to keep an eye on. By the way, the Eagles did make a minor transaction about an hour ago. They claimed Markin Michel off waivers, and they waived, looks like with an injury settlement, wide receiver Michael Walker. So they get another wide receiver out there for the preseason game. And Markin Michel should be someone you've heard before. He was here in Eagles camp in previous years. So they need another body for the preseason. Makes sense. We know that no Devonta Smith is going to be out there. We know the Eagles, they're not looking to, run Jalen Reagor or Greg Ward or any of those guys into the ground. So you got to have bodies for Nick Mullins to throw at in the third and fourth quarter, right? By the way, that is the other thing with the Eagles. As they prepare, the Eagles are going to have to balance this very delicate thing between you want to get Jalen Hurts reps, but you don't want to leave him out there too long that you put him in a position where he might get hurt because you have some guy who's trying to earn a roster spot comes around the edge and blasts him. Okay, you don't want to see what happened to Ben DiNucci in the Hall of Fame game happen to Jalen Hurts. Even though Jalen Hurts is way more sturdy, still you don't want to see some guy who's trying to earn a job get a nice lick in on your quarterback. But you still want him out there to get reps, to show the coaches some tape in real game action so he can improve, so he can get better, so they can focus on things that he can do so he's ready for the regular season. But you don't want to leave him out there too long. So you only have 3 quarterbacks. How do you work that? And by the way, it's not like you're looking for Flacco to be out there for the whole game either. I mean, Flacco is an older quarterback. He doesn't need a lot of time out there. You're not trying to leave him out there as a dead duck either. That's why Nick Mullins is here. Nick Mullins is here to fill out exhibition game time as a veteran who can throw to the receivers. You not have some inexperienced young quarterback who is going to be afraid of the blitz coming at him. Mullins has started an NFL game, so he's going to be a great asset for them in the preseason to get the young players some work. I'm just curious how much we're going to see. Now, my working assumption, not that I have any specific, particular insight, but my assumption right now, as of 6:10 on Tuesday, August 10th, based on everything that we're hearing so far, is that I'm going to assume that Jalen Hurts plays at least the first quarter. He'll get a couple series in. Maybe Flacco plays, the rest of the first half, and then Nick Mullins plays the second half. That's going to be my working assumption, unless something comes up or something changes. Because, like I said, you don't want to leave Hurts out there too long. And Flacco doesn't need to be out there too long either. You got Nick Mullins for a reason. You don't have a fourth quarterback for a reason. So I'm assuming that's what Mullins' role is going to be. He's going to be the guy who gets the extra reps in the second half of these preseason games. So there's only 3. Again, new coach, new offense. You want Hurts to get his reps, but you don't want to be out there too long. Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Speaking of 97.3 ESPN, we are your home for Eagles football Thursday night. Eagles versus Steelers. All the action starts at 6:30 p.m. Merrill Reese, Mike Quick on the call for your home in South Jersey for Eagles football. 97.3 ESPN FM. Don't forget the 97.3 ESPN mobile app for all your Eagles, Phillies, Sixers, Flyers, and high school sports coverage powered by First Bank of Seattle City. Also, we are live on YouTube and Twitter and Facebook. You can watch the show on all the platforms as well. I mentioned I get to the Phillies. Phillies back in action tonight. It seemed like almost all of baseball had an off day yesterday. I feel like there was only 2 games on the entire schedule yesterday. I looked down at my fantasy baseball team. I was like, is anybody playing today? The whole league's off. It was ridiculous. So almost a universal day off for baseball yesterday. But we're back at it today, and you got Nola versus Scherzer. The matchups are filled out now. You have Nola versus Scherzer tonight. Tomorrow night, you have Gibson versus Price. It's going to be an ESPN national game as well, Wednesday Night Baseball. And then Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern, Ranger Suarez versus Urias. So the Phillies have a chance to get some wins here. I listen, I don't have a lot of hope for them tonight because Scherzer has seen the Phillies enough times that he could dominate them. He can go out there and get the job done. But I do think that with Gibson on Wednesday and Suarez on Thursday, there's still a chance you could go out there and get 2 out of 3 against one of, if not the best team in the National League. The Dodgers are really good, and getting Scherzer and Trey Turner only makes them better. And then Mookie Betts' bat has been heating up. I know Justin Turner, even though he might not play specifically tonight, he's been a hot bat. You know, they got guys like Max Muncy out there. They got so much talent, that Dodgers team. It's insane. So it's not going to be an easy series. You're going to find out a lot about your team. But I think that riding this winning streak that they're on, right? This full-on winning streak where they've won 8 straight in the month of August. They're undefeated this month. At least you got some, positive momentum going into a series with one of the best teams in baseball. And you're at home, so theoretically, you should be able to win 2 out of 3, in my opinion. Again, I don't think you win the game tonight. Nothing against Nola, but I think Scherzer is just that good. The only way they get the Dodgers is if they get to the bullpen. And the bullpen, it has been inconsistent. So the Dodgers bullpen can be had, but I just tend to think that at least one of these games is just not going to go the Phillies' way. Of course, the Phillies news that came up, you heard with Mike Gill. If you didn't, a little bit earlier on the Sports Bash, Rhys Hoskins, who hasn't been playing, is being placed on the 10-day injured list with a left groin strain, retroactive to August 7th. So, based on that, and then I don't know if he'll have to go for a rehab assignment or not, but the soonest he could be available is after the 17th. So, we're another week away with him, and you'd rather than be a little extra precautionary and not push it or not risk it. But when I heard Rhys Hoskins was going on the injury list, I was like, oh, okay, maybe McCutcheon's coming back. And then they call him Mickey Moniak. I mean, come on, guys. Like, we need more Mickey Moniak in our life. Starting lineup for the Phillies tonight, he's got Dubal Herrera back in left field, Segura in the 2-hole, Harper, MVP candidate in the 3-hole, Real Muto, followed by Brad Miller, the man who just bashes home runs randomly, Didi Gregorius, Ronald Torreyes, Janikowski, and Nola. So Torreyes back at third base. Bohm getting the day off, probably mostly because they're facing Scherzer. And so we'll see how it goes tonight. Today's the first game of a very important series for the Phillies. We're going to find out what they're made of in this series. These are 3 days against one of the best teams in baseball. Do you have what it takes to hang? It all starts tonight. We'll have it covered right here on 97.3 ESPN, starting tomorrow on the Sports Bash with Mike Hill. I'm Josh Hennig, your host here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free. Thanks First Bank of Seattle City. Of course, we are live on YouTube and Twitter. You can watch the show. Just follow 97.3 ESPN. Of course, you can send a message to the show directly through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. Also, text board is there for you, 609-403-0973. And, of course, if you want to chime in on the stream, you can do so as well. You basically chime in whatever platform you want. You can get a hold of the show. Of course, 97.3 mobile app. It's free. Thanks to First Bank of Seattle City on Google Play and Apple. Whatever your device is, you get the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. We'll get to your thoughts and messages a little bit later in the show. But coming up next, Tom Moore, sports columnist for Bucks County Courier-Times. Covered Sixers for a long time. Covered Phillies sports for a long time. We'll hit all three sports with him next, right here. I'm Josh Hennig. This is Game Night.
This is Billy Schweim. Join me Friday night for 97.3 ESPN's live coverage of the South Jersey Lifeguard Championships live from Longport, New Jersey. Coverage starts at 6 p.m.
The South Jersey Lifeguard Championships are being brought to you by McCann Realtor, serving Seattle City since 1939. Dino's Subs and Pizza on Venter Ave in Margate. Blitz's Market with 2 locations in Ocean City at 21st and 34th Street. Lee's Builders of Margate, over 30 years of building custom homes. 7th and 11th Street Bike and Surrey Rentals at the Boardwalk in Ocean City, open 7 days a week.
No matter the mileage, no matter the make, no matter what you owe, Matt Kia wants your vehicle today. Even if you don't want to buy a new car from us, we need to replenish our inventory, so we need your vehicle, no matter the situation. Stuck in a loan or lease, Matt Kia wants to get you released. Get cash for your car today, even if you don't buy a car from us. However, if you are looking for a new ride, take advantage of New Jersey Charge Up Incentive Program. Get 10 grand off on all brand new 2020 Niro EV, all 2021 Kia Souls, $1,500 cash back, or pay 0 interest for 60 months on every Kia Sportage, Forte, and Stinger.
It's gotta be a Matt Black Kia.
Offers with approved Tier 1 or 2 credit through Kia Motors Finance. Not all will qualify. 0% based on 1667 per 1,000 borrowed. Negative equity financed into new loan. Call 877-289-6670 or go to mattblackkianj.com for complete details. Matt Black Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, and now on Route 37 in Toms River.
Why would someone looking for a mortgage at the Jersey Shore take a loan from a company in Detroit or North Carolina or some other far-off place? Online mortgages promise a lot, but don't always deliver. First Bank of Sea Isle City knows the Jersey Shore. We are local lenders. We use local appraisers and provide in-house processing. We understand the unique obstacles of financing in Cape May County. Don't take a chance. Local banking is better. Let us guide you. First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Tuesday edition of Game Night. Josh Hennig hanging out with you. 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle City. But we are live as always on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. We're joining us right now to talk more about all three teams that are in the news. Eagles just days away from their first preseason game. The Ben Simmons saga continues. And, of course, the Phillies start a very important series with the Dodgers. Joining us is Tom Moore, sports columnist for the Bucks County Courier-Times, right now on 97.3 ESPN FM. Tom, how you doing today?
All right, Josh, how are you?
Doing pretty good. It's very different, enjoyably different to have all these teams in the news this time of year. Usually this time of year, it's just, Eagles. But I got to start with the saga. You covered the Sixers for a long time. This Ben Simmons stuff just doesn't seem to go away. I mean, everyone seems to have a report, a speculation, a guesstimation about what's going on. What are you reading about all this? All this, for lack of a term, smoke that is going on out there with it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to say Simmons would like to be traded, and the Sixers and Daryl Morey would like to trade him, but Morey is not going to accept 50 cents on the dollar, so he's asking for $1.30 on the dollar. Like he's asking for like a James Harden type package, I think. And there's really no rush now. Now it gets interesting in another 6 weeks when you start talking about training camp. Then will he report? Does he report? I have no reason to think he wouldn't. I know there's a report out there that I think Kendrick Perkins said that he wouldn't be surprised, which is really not a report at all. That's just speculation. But there's no rush right now for Morey, but I think the season begins October 19th. They don't have the schedules out yet, but October 19th is when I guess the first game or games will be. It'd be really nice to have it, taken care of by then. The X factor obviously is Lillard's situation. If he goes into the Blazers and says, I'm 31, we didn't get much better. We lost in the first round last year again. Offseason wasn't great. I want to be traded. You look and, the Knicks and the Heat, who were thought to be teams in the mix, made significant moves and probably aren't in the mix anymore. And the Sixers, could give a package with Simmons and, Maxey and/or Thibault, multiple first-round picks and pick swaps. I think that's, get a 25-year-old guy who's been a 3-time All-Star plus all that other stuff. I don't think a lot of teams could match that. But yeah, I would, I don't think it's ideal to go into, November, December with him still here if he's not happy, if he'll even be here. But right now you don't have, there's no real sense of urgency. That could start changing, let's say early next month.
Now, you mentioned about the fact of the Lillard situation. One of my concerns, Tom, and I want to ask you about this, is that I'm concerned that, let's say Morey, part of him is saying, I'm trying to wait out the Lillard situation. I'm worried that you might be waiting so long for something that might never happen. What if Lillard never goes to Portland and says, I want out? Then what does Morey and the Sixers do?
Well, my sense is, Josh, you have a time frame, and whether it's September 10th, whatever, pick a date. And at that point, that's your cutoff, and at that point, if it hasn't happened, you got to go to plan B. Whether it's the next best offer, whether you keep pushing, whether you maybe decrease your demands, but you can't, go into the season still waiting, I don't think. I would think if he wants to be moved, he's going to decide before training camp, which is start of most camps are in like 7 weeks or so. So you need to have that figured out and go from there. But yeah, you can't just wait and hope. You have to find out what's the deal. Are you going to stay there? Do you want to leave? You have to find that out. Hope pick a date, and then after that, you move on.
Now, with all that being said, what is your perspective on the Sixers' overall offseason? It feels like they've done a lot of nice, tiny additions, but they haven't really done anything big, which I think for some Philly sports fans, it's a little frustrating because it feels like the Flyers, they basically traded half the roster away, right? The Phillies made 2 trades at the deadline. Eagles are in camp. That's exciting enough. So to some Sixer fans are like, could Morey have done more?
Well, he probably could have, but it would have meant trading Simmons and not getting back what you want. He still has an $8.2 million trade exception until September 7th from the Horford trade. And they have the rest of the mid-level exception, which could be up to about $6 million, depending on circumstances. And then, you have Simmons. I mean, they upgraded at the 4 position with Yang. He's better than Mike Scott, but, he's not going to probably be the difference between, losing in the second round and making the NBA Finals. He's a stretch 4 who hit 43% of his threes last year, which is very good. Drummond's a similar player to Dwight Howard, a rebounder, kind of offensively challenged, physical guy. Bringing Danny Green back, I don't know what the role, is he going to be a starter at 34? He seemed like he faded a little bit last year before the injury. Are you still planning on starting him? That remains to be seen. And, the first round pick, the kid out of Tennessee, Springer, he's only 18, played 1 year. I would think and hope this should be like a redshirt year for him. I think he'd be behind Isaiah Joe. He's certainly behind Maxey. You have a lot of wings and guards. So there's really no reason to rush, play him a lot down in the G League, get his feet wet, help get acclimated, and maybe next year you take a chance. But yeah, it's certainly not overwhelming. I understand the sense. It's funny you say that. I have a column going online tomorrow morning at 6 about this whole situation, about, being a little underwhelmed and how it's somewhat disappointing. But, it's about Simmons and the Horford exception and the rest of the mid-level. That's how you're gonna get better. But the main way is Simmons. If you can get, another star or close to star and a second, starter or quality player and a couple draft picks, maybe that can help jumpstart your offseason.
Tom Moore joining us here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN at Tom Moore Philly on Twitter. Give him a follow for all the Philly sports coverage over there with the Bucks County Courier-Times. Tom, let's flip it over to the Eagles. Obviously, we're just days away from the first preseason game, and everybody wants to know, what is this offense going to look like? Because I think a lot of people have their opinions about Jalen Hurts, whether they like him or don't like him. But at the end of the day, Tom, to me, I think the question is Nick Sirianni, because he's first-time head coach. New offense. This is actually the 4th different offense for Hurts in the last 4 years. And I'm curious to see what Sirianni looks like as a play caller on Thursday night.
Yeah, I was there last week at camp, and that's what we were talking about. What happens when it's 4th and 1 at the opponent's 45-yard line? With Peterson, he almost always went for it. You don't know with Sirianni. Maybe Sirianni will be similarly aggressive. Maybe he'll be really conservative. Maybe he'll, like Peterson, I noticed he loved to run on 2nd and long. I don't know why. It would be 2nd and 11, and I'd say, here comes a run, and he would run the ball. He did that a lot. Not sure why. I have no idea. I don't know if he thought he was going to catch him sleeping or whatever. But, yeah, I think it's more him. And, when I was there last week, they were doing a lot of short stuff. They did not throw the ball down the field much at all. Are they going to be more of a possession offense? And if that's the case, you're going to have 8 or 9 guys in the box almost daring you to go deep. And Hurts can throw it long, but you just have to be willing to let him, air it out. So, yeah, I think it's more of it's almost as much a question of Sirianni as much or maybe slightly more as Hurts, in terms of what happens, because he's totally new here. Hurts got his feet wet a little bit last year, but Sirianni, this is all new to him. How does he react in a pinch? Does he burn his timeouts? When things don't look right, does he take his timeouts and he doesn't care if he's out of timeouts at the end of the first quarter for the first half? Those are all like little things, but they'll tell you a lot about what he's like as a head coach, which he has not, certainly not been at the NFL level.
Now, one of the things that's going to impact that offense is the left tackle competition, if we can really call it that at this point, because now with Dillard going down with this week-to-week injury, all the reports coming out of camp, Tom, has been that Mailata has been one of the top performers in camp. So it seems like you might as well just default Mailata for the left tackle position now.
Yeah, Mailata really when I was there, certainly, was the better of the two. And from what I've been told, consistently has outplayed Dillard. So I think it should be his job. If it's not his job, the only reason is that the other kid was a first round pick, at this point. But yeah, I think they should put him in there at left tackle. Now, if he can't handle it or if there's trouble or whatever, you figure it out then. But he's the best option right now at left tackle for this team.
Now, you mentioned Dillard was a first-round pick. This is a weird situation because on one hand, Dillard was a first-round pick. You traded up in the first round to get him a couple spots to get ahead of Houston. On the other hand, Mailata is a find, right? If he turns out to be a star for the next several years, this is one of the steals of the draft. So it's like this catch-22 for the Eagles. Like, on one hand, you want to give him credit for Mailata, but on the other hand, you kind of have to dock him for Dillard, right?
Well, yeah, and this is another. Now, I don't know that this will be Sirianni's call. This may come from above him, but it's another thing that you kind of look at and see how he handles it. Stoutland is still a line coach. He's one of the few holdovers. He's been there a long time, so he's got a lot to say at what happens on the line. But ultimately, it's Sirianni's call. So, does he reward the guy who has played the best regardless of situation, or does he bend over backwards to give a guy who was a first-round pick, who I didn't understand at the time, and I understand less now why you picked him at that circumstance, let alone traded up to get him? What happens there? With him. I don't know that he would. Would he be on the roster if he wasn't a first-round pick? I'm not necessarily sure. About if he were a 4th or 5th or 6th or 7th round pick. I'm not sure that that's the case. Mailata was a 7th round pick. Stoutland with his, saw him at a camp and was intrigued, and 6'8", 350, and he's a mountain of a dude and moves really well. He's an intriguing guy, and that's such an important position, with the blind side of a right-handed quarterback. So yeah, I am curious to see, what happens. And really along the line, Sayamala's been banged up. Brooks has been banged up. Are these guys going to be ready to go? Lane Johnson, are these guys going to be ready to go? Do they still have their best days ahead of them? I mean, Brooks is a freak with all the injuries he's come back and the level he's played at and the things as athletic as he is at that size. But the whole line to me is a bit of a question mark. That was just tremendous. 2, 3, 4 years ago, Kelsey might be the best center in the NFL. But he's 32. He's getting near the end of his career too. So, that's an area that was a strength that they still need to be a strength, for this offense to be successful.
Tom Moore joining us here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, at Tom Moore Philly on Twitter, covers all the sports as a columnist for the Bucks County Courier-Times, joining us here on 97.3 ESPN FM. Now, the other team, Philly's back in action tonight, Tom. 8 in a row. They've never started in the month of August undefeated since 1991. I almost fell over when I saw that stat on TV on Sunday on the television. And, Tom, it's wild. This Phillies team, they are in a legitimate position to make the playoffs right now. And it's amazing to watch the area get re-energized into the Phillies in a way they haven't been in a decade.
Yeah, well, the weekend series really did it. Starting at a half game out, the Mets come to town. You win Friday. I was down there Friday, and then Saturday the bullpen was unbelievable. They scored enough, to win. Nearly gave it away with throwing Lavera in there with the 3 home runs, which was crazy. Ended up having to burn the closer anyway. And then Sunday, Wheeler was just unbelievable. So yeah, they're 2.5 games up. And the other interesting thing is after the next series, the Mets next series, they play 13 games in 14 days, all of them against the Dodgers or Giants, home and away. The Mets have, I think it's the 6th toughest schedule based on winning percentage in the majors the rest of the way. The Phillies have the easiest. And watch out for the Braves. They're only 2 back. And I know Acuna's hurt, but that they still have Freeman. They still have some really good players. They always find good pitching, and their schedule is much easier than the Mets too. So it's a question of which of those teams will be and the Phillies only play the Mets 3 games and the Braves 3 games on the road. So they get to play the Diamondbacks 6 times. They get to play the Pirates again. They get to play the Cubs. They get to play some teams that are, the Nationals 3 games again, that have sold off some assets that they should should be able, to do pretty well and, have a chance to put themselves, in a position to win the division, for the first time in 10 years.
Yeah, you mentioned the Braves. They have according to ESPN.com, the 27th strength of schedule. So the Phillies got the best. The Braves got a few spots ahead of them. So
yeah, I guess so. That would be fourth easiest, right? Yeah. So they have similar schedules in terms of what they're playing, and the circumstances. So yes, while the Mets have a pretty difficult schedule, the one I saw, I think it had said it was the sixth going into yesterday. I think was the sixth most difficult, mainly because there's 13 games against, the Giants are trying to hold off the Dodgers to win the division. The Dodgers are the number one wild card right now. So those teams have a lot to play for.
Speaking of the Dodgers, they are in Philadelphia for the next 3 games tonight. And I'm not trying to sound defeatist, Tom, but I'm almost going to this game assuming you're going to lose this game tonight because it's Scherzer out there. But I still feel like you can go win the next 2 games because David Price, he hasn't started almost at all until this year for the last couple of years. And then you have your Reyes, who's a hit or miss guy for the Dodgers. And I feel like the Phillies could walk out of this 2 out of 3, which would be even a bigger boon for them because of the fact that, let's be realistic, the Dodgers were the best teams in all of baseball. And if you can go out there and take 2 out of 3 against them, that's a statement in itself, right?
Yeah, I would think so. The way the team is playing right now, the one concern with me at this team they still have, I think it was Friday night, they had 3 errors. They still have games where and it's not just Bohm, Miller had an error that, and that's the thing to me that is a little concerning because even if you do everything right, if you make a couple key errors or really one key error, you can really undo things. You can lead to 4 unearned runs. They're just not very solid. Now, Hoskins will be out this week too. He's on the IL. They put him, I don't know if you saw that. They put him on the IL, backdated. So he'll miss this series and the series of the Reds. He's eligible to come back next Monday in Arizona, whether, the start of the trip in Arizona, whether next Tuesday, whether he does or not remains to be seen. But, he's generally not a very good first baseman. Gregorius is not a very good shortstop, and Bohm is an adventure anytime the ball goes to him. So, that would be the concern to me is that, guys like Wheeler throw a lot of ground balls. You almost hold your breath sometimes when it gets hit, especially to third base. But yeah, I mean, it's amazing in the span of, a week, they went from 4.5 in 8 days, 4.5 back to 2.5 up. They won 8 in a row, and the Mets went 1-7, including 1-3 in Miami against the Marlins. So you really can change things, but this team has not been the most consistent team. So it'd be nice, for them, as you said, to keep putting together, winning 2 or 3. Then the Reds come to town. They're trying to get a wild card. They hit the ball really well. See what you can do with them, this weekend. And then you head out on the coast.
Yeah, don't forget, folks, as I mentioned earlier, when they put Rhys Hoskins on the injured list, retroactive, personally, Tom, I was hoping, I'm like, oh, maybe they'll call Andrew McCutchen. And then I kept reading as, oh, they're calling him Mickey Moniak. It's like super letdown, right? Like we got Mickey Moniak coming back up for like a 200th time.
Yeah, McCutchen's like obviously not ready, although Gregorius is in the lineup tonight. So, I mean, I guess that's a good thing, although you can argue Torreyes is better he doesn't have as many home runs, but he's certainly a better fielder, and he's got a better average. He's got a better slugging percentage. He's got a better on-base percentage. So that really wasn't maybe as big a deal perhaps as – it's another bat, though. It's not allows you to use Torreyes off the bench and double switches and so on.
Tom, before I let you go, one of the topics that was brought up over the last few days for us here on 97.3 ESPN is you have Bryce Harper, who's considered now an MVP candidate, Zach Wheeler, who's considered the leader for the Cy Young right now. I mean, there's a possibility, might not be a huge possibility, but there's a legit possibility that you could have an MVP and a Cy Young Award winner on the same team, a team that just a month ago, as you said, was so inconsistent. We didn't know they were going to make the playoffs, and the last time that happened to the Phillies was 1980 when it was Schmidt and Carlton. So just give me your thoughts on the idea of just wrapping our minds around having 2 guys up for these kind of awards potentially.
Yeah, Wheeler's legit. You see now, you have Buehler from the Dodgers. There are some other guys you can certainly make a strong. I think he's 12-2 with a low ERA in the low 2s. I mean, he's having a great year. But he's legit. Harper is kind of a beneficiary with Tatis being injured, Acuna Jr. being injured, and DeGrom. And let's be fair, in terms of pitching, that certainly helps Wheeler with DeGrom being out and in no timetable. But the difference to me is the MVP has to do with winning. Like the Cy Young is the best pitcher. The MVP always seems to be a guy who's on a good team. Rarely do you have a guy, Steve Carlton was the Cy Young in 72 when they won, 54 games. Like that doesn't happen if you're the MVP. The MVP has to at least have a winning record and usually win the division or make the playoffs. Harper's, on base percentage, he's doing all the right things. He still probably has a little bit of a ways to go, with to get there, but he's doing a lot of things to help you win. Since right before the All-Star break, he's got more walks and strikeouts. He's got 16 doubles. He's hitting 370. I mean, he's doing a lot of doing a lot of good things. That would be wild. I would still think it's probably a bit of a long shot. At least the Harper probably would be the least likely of those things to happen, but it's not impossible, Josh.
Absolutely. I put the percentage like this time. I said I felt like Harper's maybe like a 50-50 proposition, and maybe like Wheeler's like a 85% proposition right now.
I would say both would be less than that. But I would say certainly that Wheeler has a better shot. Harper, I think, is a little less, than that, maybe 30%, maybe Wheeler's 50%. Okay. I mean, I have no idea. I'm just saying, if he keeps pitching like he pitched Sunday, Wheeler, then there's no doubt about it. Like I said, Buehler's one guy who I would really look to, especially since the Dodgers are so good. They're going to make the playoffs. Even if they don't win the division, they're going to certainly be a wild card. And they could conceivably catch the Giants. Machado is in the mix for MVP. There's, some guys, and they'll probably make the playoffs as a wild card too. So, it is. Yeah, you're right. If you said that 2 weeks ago, people would have said you were nuts, on any of them, whether you win the division, MVP, or Cy Young. So just to be even discussing it is really quite a turnaround in the span of 2 weeks.
He's Tom Moore. Give him a follow on Twitter at Tom Moore, Phillies sports columnist for the Bucks County Courier-Times. And he joined us right here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM. Tom, great stuff today. Appreciate you jumping on.
Anytime, Josh. Take care.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Great stuff there from Tom Moore, getting into all three of the teams, the Eagles, the Phillies, and the Sixers. Great insights from him. We'll hear from you guys next right here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM. Of course, we are live on multiple platforms. If you're listening on 97.3 ESPN Radio, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, or if you are tuned in on the 97.3 ESPN YouTube channel or on Twitter, Facebook, whatever platform you're tuning us in on. Multiple ways for you to get a hold of the show. Of course, the text board is there. We have the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. You can shoot us a message right from the app. Comes directly to the studio. The app is free thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. The text board is 609-403-0973. As always, we will check on your messages on the stream on YouTube and Twitter. I'm Josh Hennig. This is Game Night.
This is the radio home for Philadelphia Eagles football. The Eagles open the 2021 preseason this Thursday night, hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Link.
Roethlisberger again, look. He is hit, and football is fumbled. The Eagles have it.
Maryland Mike call all the action starting at 7:30 p.m. This is where the Eagles play. 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's Eagles station.
Why would someone looking for a mortgage at the Jersey Shore take a loan from a company in Detroit or North Carolina or some other far-off place? Online mortgages promise a lot but don't always deliver. First Bank of Sea Isle City knows the Jersey Shore. We are local lenders. We use local appraisers and provide in-house processing. We understand the unique obstacles of financing in Cape May County. Don't take a chance. Local banking is better. Let us guide you. First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
You asked for it. You got it. Fast Track Checkout at either Matt Blatt Kia location. Buy it your way. Complete your purchase online or have us deliver it during the Trade Up to a Kia sales event at Matt Blatt Kia in Egg Harbor Township or Tom's River. Try Fast Track Checkout. Purchase completely online and have us deliver right to your home or office. Only at Matt Blatt Kia.
It's gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township. And now on Route 37 in Tom's River.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig back here, Game Night 97.3 ESPN FM, final segment of the show. Glad to have you guys on board, as always, on a Tuesday night. But I hope you're all staying hydrated out there. We were checking out the forecast a little earlier today. It looks like this is going to be the final hot week of the summer. So if we believe the weather people, which sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong. I always say the weather people. All right. What I usually say is there's only two people on earth who can keep their job and have a 30% accuracy rate. It's the meteorologist and the baseball player. That's it. Baseball, you can be a 300 hitter, make the Hall of Fame. Meteorologist, you can get it right 30% of the time, and nobody cares because nobody remembers what it was yesterday or a week before or a month ago. It's like, think about that. If we kept track of the weather people like we do our sports, how many people would still have their jobs? I'm just saying. Just think it. Chew on that for a minute. But, yeah, stay hydrated. Hope everyone stays cool this week. It's supposed to be the last hot week of the summer. I know we had a nice respite, some fall football feeling like conditions, but apparently it's supposed to get hot and hazy this week. A couple rainstorms passing through a couple times this week. So stay hydrated, take care of yourselves as we still finish out the summer season. It is mid-August here in South Jersey. As always, we love to get to your guys' thoughts and comments before we get out of here. Of course, you can message us through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. Text board is 609-403-0973. And as always, we are live on YouTube and Twitter. Just follow 973 ESPN to join the conversation. I did want to update you guys on a little bit of news. So I mentioned that Rhys Hoskins is on the injured list. As Tom Moore mentioned, he will be allowed to return at the earliest next Tuesday. And as Tom mentioned, they will be on their West Coast trip then. So the way the schedule plays out is very interesting to keep an eye on because they had yesterday off and they're going to have next Monday off. So, and they have the Monday after that off. So they're going to have 3 straight Mondays that they are in the clear on off days. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out on the schedule because you got the Dodgers for 3 and then the Reds for 3. Then you have a day off. You go to the West Coast. You got Arizona in Arizona for 3 days. Then you go to San Diego for 3 days. Then you have a day off. Then you come back to Philadelphia for 2 versus Tampa and then 3 versus Arizona. Then you play on Monday for the first time in 3 weeks. You go to Washington for a 3-game set at Miami, at Milwaukee. Then the 9-game road trip is done. You come home. You play the Rockies and the Cubs. So the schedule is going to play out in a way that with these extra 2 Mondays off, you have a chance to rest your pitching staff. You have a chance to rest some people's bodies. And I have to think that with all that extra rest, that could only benefit the Phillies because of the injuries that have accumulated to Hoskins, to McCutchen. Also, forget Freddie Galvis is expected to come back soon. So whenever he's done with his rehab assignment, he'll be coming back to the big league level. That'll help the team as well when we look down the road defensively and flexibility-wise. So there's a lot of positives upcoming to the schedule, but you got to get through the next 6 games. Yes, you beat the Mets. You knock them down a few pegs. You took the NL East. Now you got the Dodgers. What are you made of? And that's what I'm looking forward to in this game. What are you made of against Scherzer, Price, and Urias? And you got the Reds. The Reds are the best team that might not make the playoffs this year because the Reds are 61-52. And they're 6 games out of first place behind Milwaukee. And there's a strong possibility they only make the postseason. They have great hitting. Their pitching's okay, but they have great hitters. And guys like Castellanos and Votto and Winker and all those guys over there in Cincinnati, just tons of sluggers up and down the lineup. But I still think the Phillies can come out of this next 6 games winning 4 of 6. And I think if they do win that 4 of 6, they have a real big opportunity to prove themselves as one of the better teams in all of baseball. But it starts tonight. Of course, Mike Gill will have it all covered tomorrow on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN starting at 2 o'clock. I'll be back tomorrow night at 6 p.m. for game night, final game night of the week because Mike Gill will be going up to Jamestown with his team, going to the World Series. I'll be covering for him on Thursday. And then Friday, I'll be covering for him as well. And then you have the South Jersey Lifeguard Championships on Friday night. So a busy week still to come. Don't forget Eagles football right here on your home, South Jersey for Eagles football, 97.3 ESPN FM. Thursday night, coverage begins at 6:30 p.m. The first preseason game in 2 years, by the way. Don't forget about that. There was no preseason last year. I'm very curious to see. We'll get more deeper into the Eagles tomorrow about what I'm looking forward to in that game because I think there's a couple of specific storylines to keep an eye on in that game this week. You heard me mention Nick Sirianni, left tackle, Jalen Hurts, the defense. Color me intrigued, as some people might say. Of course, all the coverage of the Phillies, Eagles, Sixers, Flyers, and high school sports right there on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free. Thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. Thanks again to Tom Moore for joining the show today to get more deeper into all 3 teams. I'm Josh Hennig. This is Game Night. Have a good night. I'll catch you tomorrow.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff. Learn more, live better.